People running round every day, wondering why things are changing so fast. Don't know what to do, don't know what to say. Got so many questions to ask. From pillar to post, from coast to coast, confusion all across the land. A hidden word is what I'd like to say, but tell me, would you listen, my friend? And I'm so glad I know about the blessed beauty. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. I just want, I want to praise His name. So much depression, so much aggression. What's real and who can you trust? Is the purpose of life all struggle and strife? Does it end in ashes and dust? God really cares, He hears your prayers. If you'd only take time to pray. If you can't find the words, you can still be heard. He knows what you're trying to say. That's why I'm so glad I know about the blessed beauty. So glad I know about the blessed beauty. I just want, I want to praise His name. Oh, the song's longer, but we need to be moving forward. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. Good morning, Pam. And good morning, Del Sabetti. Now, I don't think I've seen Del Sabetti with us before. And we have Terry with us. Good morning. And good morning, Rhonda. Hey there, Jeremiah, out there in the clouds. How you doing? And good morning, Nini. How are you?
Good morning.
You're doing well?
Good morning, Jamie.
You see
On
Jamie? Where's
Facebook.
Jamie? Oh, you see Jamie on Facebook. Good morning, Jamie. And my mother-in-law is here, Nini's mom. Hey, Mom. I hope everyone is doing well this morning. And hello, everyone out there in Facebook land, whether you're seeing this in real time or happen to pick it up on YouTube by going to clearwaterbaha'is.org or whatever. We're glad you're joining us. And let's start, as always, with a prayer. Here's a prayer from Baha'u'llah for the triumph of the cause. Lauded be thy name, O Lord my God. Darkness hath fallen upon every land, and the forces of mischief have encompassed all the nations. Through them, however, I perceive the splendors of thy wisdom and discern the brightness of the light of thy providence. They that are shut out as by a veil from thee have imagined that they have the power to put out thy light and to quench thy fire and to still the winds of thy grace. Nay, and to this thy might beareth me witness. Had not every tribulation been made the bearer of thy wisdom, and every ordeal the vehicle of thy providence, no one would have dared oppose us, though the powers of earth and heaven were to be leagued against us. Were I to unravel the wondrous mysteries of thy wisdom, which are laid bare before me, the reins of thine enemies would be cleft asunder. Glorified be thou then, O my God. I beseech thee, by thy most great name, to assemble them that love thee around the law that streameth from the good pleasure of thy will, and to send down upon them what will assure their hearts. Potent art thou to do what pleaseth thee. Thou art verily the help in peril, the self-subsisting. And again, this is a prayer from Baha'u'llah. Good morning, Olga. Glad you're joining us this morning. Let me put this over here for now. And I was remiss in saying Daryl, as you can see, is not with us this morning. He's not feeling well. And so please keep him in your prayers, and let's hope that he feels better soon. And my guitar strap is giving me a problem here, even though I don't wear it. I like it to be, I don't like it to be twisted up. So as you know, we have been reading from the book, here we are, Baha'u'llah and the New Era. Baha'u'llah and the New Era. Okay? And here's someone from the Oakville community. They have the initial B, and that's all we know. So good morning, B. But Baha'u'llah and the New Era. And I was going over the books for anyone who may be joining us for the first time. What we do is every Sunday morning around 10 o'clock, we continue reading a book that is either from one of the heroes of the Baha'i faith, Baha'u'llah, Abdul-Baha, Shoghi Effendi. We also read some prayers. And we continue from cover to cover going through a book. So we're a little bit of a deepening, a little bit of a devotion, and a book club. And right now, the book that we are covering, this is our 7th book. We've been doing this for quite a while now, is again, Baha'u'llah and the New Era, an introduction to the Baha'i faith by J.E. Esselmont. And if you'd like to get that book, yeah, you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Baha'i Trust. And you can have access. There are different ways you can get access to the content online. But yeah, that's the book. And today we're actually starting a new chapter. And the chapter that we are starting today, last week we just finished Health and Healing. And now we're starting Religious Unity. It's chapter 8 for anyone who is, has your own text and you want to read along. Chapter 8, Religious Unity. So let's go ahead and get started. It starts with a verse from Baha'u'llah in his Tablet of the World. He says, O ye that dwell on earth, the distinguishing feature that marketh the preeminent character of this supreme revelation, excuse me, I'm getting a little tickle there, of this supreme revelation consisteth in that we have on one hand blotted out from the pages of God's book whatsoever hath been the cause of strife, of malice, and mischief amongst the children of men, and have on the other laid down the essential prerequisites of concord, of understanding, of complete and enduring unity. Well is it with them that keep my statutes. I have to get a drink here. One moment, please. You know that feeling where you feel like you have to cough, but you don't cough? That's how I'm feeling right now. So please excuse me. Mom's bringing me something here. Thank you, Mom. You can just come on. Thank you. Yes. And we have G. Mazidian. I don't know what the G stands for, but you're welcome. We're glad you're here. Thanks again, Mom. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. It starts out, the first subtopic here is sectarianism in the 19th century. We get a little bit of a historic retrospective. Good morning, Farouz. Farouz is with us.
Good morning.
We're so glad you're joining us today. And so, I'm not Baha'u'llah, but J.E. Esselmont starts out giving us a little bit of, again, historical retrospective. He says, never perhaps did the world seem farther away from religious unity than in the 19th century. For many centuries had the great religious communities, the Zoroastrian, Mosaic, Buddhist, Christian, Mohammedan, and others, for many centuries had they been existing side by side. But instead of blending together into a harmonious whole, they had been at constant enmity and strife, each against the others. Not only so, but each had become split up by division after division into an increasing number of sects which were often bitterly opposed to each other. Yet Christ had said, by this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if ye love one to another. And Muhammad had said, this your religion is the one religion, To you hath God prescribed the faith which he commanded unto Noah, and which we have revealed unto thee. So even Muhammad is making no distinction there. I'll read that again to you. And Muhammad hath said, this your religion is the one religion. To you hath God prescribed the faith which he commanded unto Noah, and which we have revealed unto thee, and which we commanded unto Abraham and Moses and Jesus, saying, observe this faith, and be not divided into sects therein. The founder, and this is moving on, that was the end of that quote. The founder of every one of the great religions had called his followers to love and unity. But in every case, the aim of the founder was to a large extent lost sight of in a welter of intolerance and bigotry, formalism and hypocrisy, corruption and misrepresentation, schism and contention. The aggregate number of more or less hostile sects in the world was probably greater at the commencement of the Baha'i era than at any previous period in human history. It seemed as if humanity at that time were experimenting with every possible kind of religious belief, with every possible sort of ritual and ceremonial observance, with every possible variety of moral code. At the same time, an increasing number of men were devoting their energies to fearless investigation and critical examination of the laws of nature and the foundations of belief. New scientific knowledge was being rapidly acquired, and new solutions were being found for many of the problems of life. The development of inventions such as steamship and railway, remember we're talking about back in the 19th century, the development of inventions such as steamship and railway, postal system and press greatly aided the diffusion of ideas and the fertilizing contact of widely different types of thought and life. The so-called conflict between religion and science became a fierce battle. In the Christian world, biblical criticism combined with physical science to dispute and to some extent to refute the authority of the Bible. I want to say that again. In the Christian world, biblical criticism combined with physical science to dispute and to some extent to refute the authority of the Bible, an authority that for centuries had been the generally accepted basis of belief. A rapidly increasing proportion of the population became skeptical about the teachings of the churches. A large number even of religious priests secretly or openly entertained doubts or reservations regarding the creeds adhered to by their respective denominations. This ferment and flux of opinion, with increasing recognition of the inadequacy of the old orthodoxies and dogmas, and groping and striving after fuller knowledge and understanding, were not confined to Christian countries, but were manifest more or less and in different forms among the people of all countries and religions. So that gives us a little backdrop of, how things were at the time of the coming of Baha'u'llah. Now we move on to the next subtopic in this chapter, which is the message of Baha'u'llah. It was when this state of conflict and confusion was at its height that Baha'u'llah sounded his great trumpet call to humanity, that all nations should become one in faith and all men as brothers, that the bonds of affection and unity between the sons of men should be strengthened, that diversity of religion should cease and differences of race be annulled. These strifes and this bloodshed and discord must cease, and all men be as one kindred and one family. And these are words that were spoken by Baha'u'llah to a Professor Brown. We won't go into who Professor Brown was. Excuse me, still got that tickle. It is a glorious message, But how are its proposals to be carried into effect? Good morning, Hushon. How are its proposals to be carried into effect? Prophets have preached, poets have sung, and saints have prayed about these things for thousands of years. But diversities of religion have not ceased, nor have strife and bloodshed and discord been annulled. What is there to show that now the miracle is to be accomplished? Are there any new factors in the situation? Is not human nature the same as it ever was? And will it not continue to be the same while the world lasts? If two people want the same thing, or two nations, will they not fight for it in the future as they have done in the past? If Moses, Buddha, Christ, and Muhammad failed to achieve world unity, will Baha'u'llah succeed? If all previous faiths become corrupted and rent asunder into sects, will not the Baha'i faith share the same fate? Let us see what answer the Baha'i teachings give to these and similar questions. Here's the next subtopic, and it is a question. Can human nature change? That's the question. Can human nature change? Education and religion are alike based on the assumption that it is possible to change human nature. I'm going to read that again. Education and religion are alike based on the assumption that it is possible to change human nature. In fact, it requires but little investigation to show that the one thing that we can say with certainty about any living thing is that it cannot keep from changing. It cannot keep from changing. Without change, there can be no life. Even the mineral cannot resist change. And the higher we go in the scale of being, the more varied, complex, and wonderful do the changes become. Moreover, in progress and development among creatures of all grades, we find two kinds of change. One slow, gradual, often almost imperceptible, and the other rapid, sudden, and dramatic. Good morning, Kim. The latter, the rapid, sudden, dramatic changes, the latter occur at what are called critical stages of development. Critical stages of development. In the case of minerals, we find such critical stages at the melting and boiling points. For example, when the solid suddenly becomes a liquid, or the liquid becomes a gas. In the case of plants, it sounds like we're getting a science lesson here. In the case of plants, we see such critical stages when the seed begins to germinate, or the bud bursts into leaf. In the animal world, we see the same on every hand, as when the grub suddenly changes into a butterfly, the chick emerges from its shell, or the babe is born from its mother's womb. In the higher life of the soul, we often see a similar transformation when a man is born again and his whole being becomes radically changed in its aims, its character, and activities. Such critical stages often affect a whole species or multitude of species simultaneously, as when vegetation of all kinds suddenly bursts into new life in springtime. Baha'u'llah declares that just as lesser living things have times of sudden emergence into new and fuller life, so for mankind also a critical stage, a time of rebirth, is at hand. Then modes of life which have persisted from the dawn of history up till now will be quickly, irrevocably altered, and humanity enter on a new phase of life, as different from the old as the butterfly is different from the caterpillar, or the bird from the egg. Mankind as a whole, in the life of new revelation, will attain to a new vision of truth, as a whole country is illumined when the sun rises, so that all men see clearly, where but an hour before everything was dark and dim. This is a new cycle of human power, says Abdu'l-Baha. All the horizons of the world are luminous, and the world will become indeed as a rose garden and a paradise. That's a quote from Abdu'l-Baha. The analogies of nature are all in favor of such a view. The prophets of old have with one accord foretold the advent of such a glorious day. The signs of the times show clearly that profound and revolutionary changes in human ideas and institutions are even now in progress. What could be more futile and baseless, therefore, than the pessimistic argument that although things else change, human nature cannot change? I'll read that again. What could be more futile and baseless, therefore, than the pessimistic argument that although all things else change, human nature cannot change? Right now, I'm thinking of a variety of things that they only indirectly relate to this, but I'm thinking about how, I've heard so many stories about people who have done time in prison. Just follow me on this now. But they were in there for a long time, and they did not have access, to the outside world, and were not able to take part in many of the changes. I mean, we can just think back 20 or 30 years now. Now we've got our cell phones and everything, and someone who was not a part of that progression of changes, everything would be totally foreign to them. And so I think about at the time of Baha'u'llah's coming in the mid 1800s, how the accompaniment, again, go with me on this, when I should point out that, give you a little more context, when a manifestation of God comes, there is this, for lack of a better word, this explosion of spiritual power that affects humanity, that affects the world. There's this sudden uptick in knowledge, inventions, progress, things of that nature, that accompany what's supposed to be the spiritual progression, evolution of mankind. And I just think if you could take people at that time and suddenly bring them to this time, how they would probably look at our existence, even with all of its, difficulties and all of its strife, as, all of these miraculous changes. When we can look back and we see, the progression of just the progress that has been made over, let's say, 100, 150 years, and we can, again, relate that to the coming of a manifestation of God. All those changes show that, number one, mankind can change, of course. Of course we can change. We can change at the individual level, and we could change at the societal level as well. But we all know that all of those changes aren't necessarily going to be good if we don't, again, adhere to certain principles, spiritual principles. So, let's look at this next subtopic, which is first steps towards unity. I'll say that again, first steps towards unity. As a means of promoting religious unity, Baha'u'llah advocates that utmost charity and tolerance and calls on his followers. I need to start that again. As a means of promoting religious unity, Baha'u'llah advocates the utmost charity and tolerance and calls on his followers to consort with the people of all religions with joy and gladness. In his last will and testament, he says, conflict and contention are categorically forbidden in his book. This is a decree of God in this most great revelation. It is divinely preserved from annulment and is invested by him with the splendor of his confirmation. He goes on, O ye that dwell on earth, the religion of God is for love and unity. Make it not the cause of enmity or dissension. We fain would hope that the people of Baha may be guided by the blessed words, say, all things are of God. Say, all things are of God. This exalted utterance is like unto water for quenching the fire of hate and enmity which smoldereth within the hearts and breasts of men. By this single utterance, contending peoples and kindreds will attain the light of true unity. By this single utterance, contending peoples and kindreds will attain the light of true unity. Verily, he speaketh the truth and leadeth the way. He is the all-powerful, the exalted, the gracious. To continue, Abdu'l-Baha says, all. This is one of those moments I wish we could just get everyone, everywhere to just stop and hear this. All must abandon prejudices and must even go to each other's churches and mosques, for in all of these worshiping places the name of God is mentioned. Since all gather to worship God, what difference is there? None of them worship Satan. The Mohammedans must go to the churches of the Christians and the synagogues of the Jews, and vice versa. The others must go to the Mohammedan mosques. And I feel a little hypocritical here. I will admit to this moment, I have never been to a mosque. And I'm sure there are mosques in my area. I'm going to say this publicly. I'm going to find a way to go to a mosque somewhere. I'm going to find one. Nini is looking at me like, no, you're not. Yes, I am. I am. They hold aloof from one another merely because of unfounded prejudices and dogmas. They hold aloof from one another merely because of unfounded prejudices and dogmas. This is Abdu'l-Baha continuing. In America, I went to the Jewish synagogues, which are similar to the Christian churches, and I saw them worshiping God everywhere. In many of these places, I spoke about the original foundations of the divine religions, and I explained to them the proofs of the validity of the divine prophets and of the holy manifestations. I encouraged them to do away with blind imitations. All of the leaders must likewise go to each other's churches and speak of the foundation and of the fundamental principles of the divine religions. In the utmost unity and harmony, they must worship God in the worshiping places of one another and must abandon fanaticism. Must abandon fanaticism. Were even these first steps accomplished and a state of friendly mutual tolerance established between the various religious sects, what a wonderful change would be brought about in the world. In order that real unity may be achieved, however, something more than this is required. I'll say that again. I mean, all of that sounds wonderful. And again, I'll go on record as saying I've never been to a mosque. I have, however, this is to give myself a little bit of leeway, I have, however, taken part in many interfaith types of activities where there were people from a variety of faiths attending and taking part. But to continue, were even these steps accomplished and a state of friendly mutual tolerance established between the various religious sects, what a wonderful change will be brought about in the world. In order that real unity may be achieved, however, something more than this is required. For the disease of sectarianism, tolerance is a valuable palliative, but it is not a radical cure. I'll say it again. For the disease of sectarianism, he's referring to it as a disease. For the disease of sectarianism, tolerance is a valuable palliative, but it is not a radical cure. It does not remove the cause of the trouble. And before we get into what will remove the cause of the trouble, I think this would be a good time for us to stop and have a quick little song. Let me set my little drummer here. There we are. Let's put you, I have to put this somewhere. I'll put it here for now. Usually I'm closer to a table. It's farther away from me because I'm sitting center. There is a time for which we long. With each passing day, as time goes on, there is a time that will come, a day that is promised. Time is done. It's the greater peace, the greater peace, the greater peace. And when that day comes, there'll be no more hate. Mankind will be loving. For this day we wait. Songs will be sung. Children will play. There'll be no more battles on that wonderful day. It's the greater peace, the greater peace. There will be plowshares made out of straw. Mankind will study war no more. The light of all truth will shine from the east, fulfilling the promise of the greater peace. It's the greater peace, greater peace, greater peace. There will be plowshares made out of swords. Mankind will study war no more. The light of our truth will shine from the east, fulfilling the promise of the greater peace. song based on the prophecy from Baha'u'llah that the day of peace will come. It's hard to believe when we look at what's going on around us right now, but for anyone who is familiar with the writings of Baha'u'llah, it's a lot easier to understand and believe that even if we don't see that time of the greater peace, it is indeed going to come. Let's move on. The next subtopic that we're going to be covering is, hang on, I think I need to make a little adjustment here. Let someone in the room, in the Zoom. There we go. So to continue, the problem of authority. This will be interesting. The problem of authority. Excuse me. The different religious communities have failed to unite in the past because the adherents of each have regarded the founder of their own community as the one supreme authority, and his law as the divine law. I'll read that again. The different religious communities have failed to unite in the past because the adherents of each have regarded the founder of their own community, and founder is I should say is capitalized, and that's a reference to the prophet that was the founder of that particular faith. I hate to start all over again, but I'm going to. I just went on to put that in there. The different religious communities have failed to unite in the past because the adherents of each have regarded the founder of their own community as the one supreme authority and his law as the divine law. Any prophet, listen closely, any prophet who proclaimed a different message was therefore regarded as an enemy of the truth. The different sects of each community have separated for similar reasons. The adherents of each have accepted some subordinate authority and regarded some particular version or interpretation of the founder's message as the one true faith and all others as wrong. The adherents of each have accepted some subordinate authority and regarded some particular version or interpretation of the founder's message as the one true faith and all others as wrong. It is obvious that while this state of matters exists, it is obvious that while this state of matters exists, no true unity is possible. Baha'u'llah, on the other hand, Baha'u'llah, on the other hand, teaches that all the prophets were bearers of authentic messages from God, that each in his day gave the highest teachings that the people could then receive, and educated men so that they were able to receive further teachings from his successors. That's important. Baha'u'llah, on the other hand, teaches that all prophets were bearers of authentic messages from God, that each in his day gave the highest teachings that the people could then receive, and educated men so that they were able to receive further teachings from his successors. He calls on the adherents of each religion not to deny the divine inspiration of their own prophets, but to acknowledge the divine inspiration of all other prophets, to see that the teachings of all are essentially in harmony and are parts of a great plan for the education and the unification of humanity. So there's a reason that this unity is so important, and there's a reason that the followers of particular faiths acknowledge the validity of the others. He, Baha'u'llah, he calls on the people of all denominations to show their reverence for their prophets by devoting their lives to the accomplishment of that unity for which all the prophets labored and suffered. In his letter to Queen Victoria, yes, Baha'u'llah did write letters to the leaders of the world, and Queen Victoria was one of them. In his letter to Queen Victoria, he likens the world to a sick man whose malady is aggravated because he has fallen into the hands of unskilled physicians. He likens the world to a sick man whose malady is aggravated because he has fallen into the hands of unskilled physicians. And he tells how the remedy may be effected. This is from Gleanings. That which the Lord hath ordained as the sovereign remedy and mightiest instrument for the healing of all the world is the union of all its peoples in one universal cause, one common faith. This can in no wise be achieved except through the power of a skilled and all-powerful and inspired physician. This verily is the truth, and all else naught but error. Words of Baha'u'llah. We're going to stop there for today. And at this time, anyone who would like to offer up a prayer or reading or song of your choosing, this is that time. Normally we would start with, our Andy Murphy moment. Andy always shares a song with us. But unfortunately, he's not able to join us today. So if anyone else would like to share a prayer or a passage of your choosing, this is that time. Please feel free to do so. Yes, please, Olga.
If you, I will sing.
Please.
It's in Russian, but you'll probably recognize it because Andy sometimes sings it. Скажи Богу, I hear my echo, it's a bit difficult. Скажи Богу, превыше всего ничто. Oh, I can't echo the curves.
You're not going to finish it for us, Olga?
Yeah, unfortunately, Tony, it's too difficult.
Oh, I see.
So,
well, we thank you for the attempt, Olga, and I've always wanted to point out since you started joining us, I really feel good about you joining us all the way from Russia. It's great to see people from different parts of the world join us. So thank you for sharing.
And I'm glad I found you.
And thank you for being with us. We really appreciate that. And the same thing goes to anyone else out there. We want to say that. But yeah. Is there anyone else who would like to share?
Sure.
Please, Terry.
Glory be to. Sounds like we got. Let me. Glory be to my God. First stirrings of the spring of thy grace have appeared, and thine earth lifted the door. The clouds of thy bounty their rain on the city within its walls is imprisoned him, whose desire is such like creatures. Through it, the soil of the city has been decked forth, and its trees clothed with foliage, and its inhabitants gladdened. The hearts of thy dear ones, however, will rejoice only at the divine springtime of thy tender mercies, whereby the hearts are quickened, and the souls are renewed, and the trees of existence bear its fruits. The plants that have forth, O my Lord, and the hearts of thy loved ones have withered away. Send down upon them the clouds of thy spirit, that which will cause the herbs of thy knowledge and wisdom to grow within their breasts. And rejoice then their hearts with the proclamation of their cause, the exaltation of thy sovereignty. Their eyes, O Lord, are expectantly turned in the direction of thy bounty. Their faces are set towards the horizon of thy grace. Suffer them not through thy bounty to be deprived of thy grace. Potent art thou by thy sovereignty over all. No God is there the Almighty, help in peril, self-subsistent.
Thank you, Terry. Is there anyone else who would like to share? Well, then, in that case, perhaps we need to go ahead and move forward. We have a little time here, so um, we always like to point out that, of course, this is a joint community effort. Uh, we are coming to you, if you're joining us through the Zoom, or even if you find this on YouTube, uh, as we have to thank the Clearwater Baha'is, you also have to thank them for making this possible. And I want to point it because we come to you through the clearwaterbaha'is.org website. And I do want to point out that there, in the next, I don't know how many weeks, but a few weeks, we've been talking about doing this for a long time, about moving back to the Clearwater Baha'i Center. Yes, here in the Pinellas County area where we are, there is a Baha'i Center. In fact, there are several. But the one that we used to go to prior to COVID, because that's when we started doing this from my home, we were already having local devotions, but we were always at the Baha'i Center in Clearwater. And there's been sort of a local outcry is probably the wrong word to use, but I'll use that word. Insistence, shall we say, that we finally get back to the center so people can come and join us in person for those who are able to locally. Let's see, I see something is wrong with the sound, which happened with both audience participants. I don't know what's going on. I wish I could say what's going on. I do not know. I don't know what to say about the sound issue. I don't know if you all can hear me okay. Is there any problem with hearing me? I don't know.
We hear you fine.
Okay. So I don't know what's going on.
Probably have two devices that are open, that are giving the feedback.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand either, Terry.
You probably have one. See that? Yeah. It's that.
Oh, it might be the mic. Okay. Nini, I'll tell you what, turn that other mic off and see if that makes any kind of, oh, it's off already. So, yeah, we've only got this mic on. I don't know what it could be. But in the near future, probably in a few weeks, we will be going back to, the plan is to go back to the Clearwater Center. It won't change timing or anything. We're still going to be coming on at the same time. But there are some things that with Jeremiah's technical knowledge, along with a couple of others, we're going to have to work through some of the challenges that go from just changing to a different place, along with a larger room and so forth and so on. So you can look forward to that, and we ask that if you are still joining us at that time, I don't know that we'll run into any challenges. I tend to be kind of a pessimist in that regard, because even here we have some issues. But we hope that you'll continue, to join us. And for those of you who would like more information regarding the Baha'i Faith, there are some very authoritative websites that you can always go to, and they are, and Daryl would normally be reading this. I'm looking at it on our screen backwards, but let's see. www.baha'i.org, www.baha'i.us, Baha'iTeachings.org, www.bahaiteachings.org. And again, if you're with us through the Zoom, you already know about ClearwaterBaha'is.org. If anyone who joins us through Facebook, you might not know about it, but you can be a part of the Zoom if that would be your preference. I know on Facebook, obviously, you can't really contribute. We can't hear you pray and things of that nature if you would like to share in that regard. But yeah, if you would choose to, well, then you have to go to ClearwaterBaha'is.org. And if you happen to be in the local area, we welcome you to come to the Clearwater Baha'i Center. It is open at a variety of times, but in the near future, it will be open on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. So, going to go ahead and move forward. Please do keep Daryl in your prayers, and also, I don't know if she'll be bothered by this, my mother-in-law, Miss Mew Chu, is getting ready to have a procedure, and we ask that you keep her in your prayers as well. Her name again is Mew Chu. She's looking at me like, what are you talking about over there? And as Darrell would say, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, for the next week, please do share the love. He says it's not that hard to do. And the truth is, he's right. But in this day and time, sometimes it can be just a tiny bit challenging. Do it anyway. Get on some people's nerves with a whole lot of love. O people of justice, be as brilliant as the light, and as splendid as the fire that blazed in the burning bush. The brightness of the fire of your love will no doubt fuse and unify the contending peoples and kindreds of the earth. Whilst the fierceness of the flame of enmity and hatred cannot but result in strife and ruin. We beseech God that he may shield his creatures from the evil designs of his enemies. He verily hath power over all things. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Watch over yourselves, for the evil one is lying in wait, ready to entrap you. Gird yourselves against his wicked devices, and led by the light of the name of the all-seeing God, make your escape from the darkness that surroundeth you. Let your vision be world-embracing, rather than confined to your own self. These are the words of Baha'u'llah. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Let your vision be world embracing. Oh, oh. Have a good week, folks. Take care. See you next week.